My name is Tracy Manser. I'm 50 years old. I'm originally from London. I now live in Los Angeles.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV, the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And I am graced with yet another amazing woman coming to us all the way from the US. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Tracy Manser. I'm 50 years old. I'm originally from London. I now live in Los Angeles. And I have, for the last 30 years, been a TV producer. My story is that for much of my career, unbeknownst to people in my friendship circle, my family, and my work colleagues, I had crippling panic attacks on an almost daily basis, where I was physically sick every time I left the house. I spent most days in utter panic. I have no recollection of things that were happening or what was going on. And I managed somehow to get through that. But by setting myself 40 challenges on my 40th birthday, I managed to find my way back to confidence and went from literally living in fear to now living fearlessly.
Wow. Wow. And you told me earlier that it's now 3,157 days since you had your last panic attack. How did you achieve that?
So, yes, that was September the 12th. Many years ago, more years than I'd care to remember. I spent a year doing things that most people wouldn't give a second thought to, that they wouldn't, doing a yoga class, going on a roller coaster, giving someone your number if they asked you on a date, all things I'd never done because I was too scared, because I was too nervous, because I had imposter syndrome, because I just lived in this little fear bubble. And I decided to write these lists of things and do them. I allowed myself 50% of the items I did with friends and 50% I had to set out and do on my own. And over the course of the year, each step that I took, each challenge that I accomplished just helped me regain my confidence. And it got to the stage where the panic attacks just disappeared.
What fascinates me about your story is that most people think that people who are in TV, television, broadcasting are extroverts. You obviously were not, right?
No, I'm very happily here to get rid of that thought process. I'm actually an introvert. I can be an ambivert if I need to. Obviously, part of my job is that I have had to present to a team with different ideas and things. So I've needed to be able to speak to people, but I am much more confident or comfortable, I should say, in a small group. 2, 3, 5 people is perfect for me. And this whole kind of last year of pandemic and working from home has been perfect because I haven't had to see anyone.
I love it. I absolutely love it. But what you have managed to do, though, is to show that you don't have to be an extrovert to exist in this world.
Absolutely. Sorry, carry on.
No, you carry on and then I'll jump in.
All right. Well, I was going to say this whole kind of misconception about being an extrovert. I know so many incredible, amazing people, especially women, who are introverts, who may be slightly bookish or don't push themselves forward to the front of the line, but that doesn't mean to say they don't have confidence. And I think there's also a difference that people think that competency is often misconstrued with confidence as well. And that's something that I'm trying to kind of educate the world on, that the two aren't mutually exclusive, but also they are also different from each other.
Okay, so let me take you back. If time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future existed in the same timeline, and you could go and have a conversation with the younger you, that young woman who decided to go into film, and give her some advice, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her based on what life has taught you up to this point?
Ooh. So if I was talking to my younger self,
yes,
I think one would be not to measure my journey by anyone else's ruler. There have been many times when I've looked at someone else that I've admired and that I've worked with, and I've been lucky enough to meet some incredible non-celebrities as well as celebrities.
Yes.
But to judge where I'm at compared to them, I think is something. It's a lesson that it took me a long time to learn, and that comparison to someone else. What else would I tell myself? That it's all going to be okay. That whatever you do is the right path, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Yes.
That what's happening is happening for you and not to
against
you.
Yes.
And the other one is that just, when it comes to the end, work isn't everything. I don't believe anyone gets to their deathbed and says, oh, I wish I'd spent another day at work, or I wish I'd spent another day or hour sat at my desk doing that email, spending more time with the people that I grew to love. I think I would tell myself to do more of that.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. One of the things we're trying to do with the sharing of all of these amazing stories from the women that are coming onto our platform is there could be somebody right now who's like you, introvert, has a desire to go into film, into TV, and is thinking, I just don't have the personality for this. But you have literally proved that it is possible, and you've done it. And you found a way to help yourself overcome the anxiety and the fear that goes with being an introvert. So I'm really so blessed that you're here sharing this. I coach a lot of women, as you know, to speak and to use their voices. And we all don't have to be extroverts to do this.
Yeah. You don't have to get up on stage to tell your story. You can just talk to another human being on the bus on your way to work.
Yes.
Or post up on social media. For example, the month of May in the US is Mental Health Awareness Month. I shared a post during the first week of May about my struggles that most of my Facebook friends had no idea about.
Yes.
And a lot of people have now come to me with messages going, I had no idea, but I also have the same thing. And just giving other people a platform to be able to share their story, but most importantly, to listen to that story. That I think that's the greatest gift you can give to anyone.
Now, one of your life's philosophies is that you don't believe in failure. Let's talk a little bit about failure and the word failure and what it means.
Failure is such a negative word. And one of the things that I've learned, I'm 10 years out from having panic attacks. So I've been able to look back and work out what works for me on a daily basis, how I interact with the world, what I do for my own mental wellness. One of those things is not to talk negatively to or about myself. Yes. So the word failure is instantly negative. Instant. You failed at something. It's just like a gray cloud is over your head. It's horrible. So I haven't failed, but what I didn't do was achieve what I wanted. So let's try again tomorrow. Let's try better the next time. Let's see if we can't achieve more on another go. I think that's the biggest thing. It's switching things around, looking at it from an outsider. Your best friend wouldn't tell you you'd failed at something. So why do you tell yourself you failed at something? I think you have to be your own best friend before you can actually be someone else's best friend.
Very, very true. And it's those little voices that come in our heads that we put ourselves down on a daily basis.
And so sometimes they come from people that we love. It might be a parent or a grandparent.
Yes.
A different generation, they learn things differently from us, and the next generation from us will change, and it will continue to do so. And that's right and proper. But I think, I love my mum desperately. She had an incredibly difficult childhood. So she learnt lessons a different way than I have learnt lessons. But sometimes the way she spoke to me when I was a lot younger, because I loved her, I believed what she said.
Yes.
And therefore I started repeating that to myself. And then that became my truth. Wasn't true at all. But it's only when you get far in the distance from it that you can look back and actually recognize sometimes how damaging things are that we then take on as truth.
Wow. Now, self-confidence is something that can be developed.
Yep.
Tell me about that. How can one build up their own self-confidence?
I believe confidence is like a muscle. You go to the gym, you do reps, you build muscle. Confidence is exactly the same. It's taking those little teeny tiny incremental steps, reps, whatever you want to call them. And every time you do something, it becomes easier. For example, if you're in a business situation and you've got colleagues around you, it's your first day. It's really difficult. You kind of feel that fear of everyone already knows each other. I don't know anyone. I don't know where the photocopier is. I don't know what I'm doing. But you talk to one person, they give you an answer because they're not judging you. You're just another person asking a question. And then that's easier. You're happy to go back and ask them a second time when you've got a problem for something else. So the more you do it, those little incremental steps make things easier. Now that's within a business sense. But if you put that on your life and into your own kind of day-to-day being, every time you take one of those little tiny steps, it becomes easier. And that is how you build confidence, little tiny incremental steps. And if you don't want to do it, then okay, try again tomorrow. But as long as you set yourselves those challenges and you hold yourself accountable, you'll end up flying. I mean, I've done it myself. I know it's possible. And I now teach other people how to do it. But it's teeny tiny little steps.
I love it. I love it. Now, the cliche life begins at 40 is normally a cliche for most people, but not for you. I told you I was cyber stalking you before this interview. You have done some crazy things in your life.
Just one or two.
What happened when you turned 40? It's like you started living again when most people start to wind down and almost get ready to die. Tell us about that journey.
So I knew when my 40th birthday came around that obviously it's a big age for most people, and especially for women. You sort of, when you're growing up, when your mum turns 40, that's suddenly they're old. And I've always been fairly young at heart, and I've been very lucky working within reality comedy and entertainment that I've had a lot of younger people around me.
Yes.
And I went out for dinner with a girlfriend, and she knew of my struggles. She knew that I had panic attacks for 15 years. She just said, what are you going to do for your birthday? Why don't you do something different that you've never done?
Yes.
And it was a throwaway comment that she was just really making polite chit chat. But by the time I'd got home on the bus in London, I'd written 10 things that I'd never done, but always wanted to do. But I'd always sort of thought in my head, oh, I'll do them one day.
Yes.
And it was like, well, when is one day? When am I going to go on a roller coaster? When am I going to do all of these things? So that's where the list came about. I know some people kind of refer to it as a bucket list. It's not a bucket list. I wasn't dying. It wasn't things that I wanted to do before I died. These were simple things that I hadn't done during the previous 15 years because I'd been hiding away during that time. So to step out and do these 40 things, life certainly began at 40. One word of advice for anyone thinking about writing a list of 40 things: don't make the same mistake I did. I wrote one thing that I was going to do once a month. So that's instantly 12 things. And I did 2 of those. So suddenly the list actually became 64, which is more than one a week. It's a big undertaking. But yeah, I learned to ski. I learned to surf. I had a celebrity chef teach me how to chop vegetables without losing a finger. I learned how to do the flying trapeze, genuinely thought I would be able to join Cirque du Soleil. Somebody videoed it for me. I looked like an elephant hanging from a piece of string. Doesn't matter. The fact was I did it, and I loved it. I went skinny dipping. I went horse riding on a beach at sunset. I went to the Louvre in Paris for a day on my own. And I'd been there before for work, but I'd never been there as a tourist. So did that. I went to see the Last Supper on the wall in the Santa Maria della Grazia in Milan. Things that most people would just have done at some point. And I've never done them. So that was why I set those 40 things for myself.
I absolutely love it. You certainly know how to live your life to the full. It is such an honor and a pleasure to have met you.
Thank you.
I'm going to end our interview with one last thing. So remember how I said if time was an illusion?
Mm-hmm.
Let's now take you into your future. You're now 100 years old. You're sitting in your rocking chair, reflecting back on your life. If you could have a conversation with that woman, based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to her?
You're so lucky. Seriously, so lucky. I have had an incredible life. I have an amazing family. I'm very blessed my parents are still together. They've been happily married for 57 years and they're both still alive, which is incredible. I've had an extraordinary career. I've worked on some incredible projects. As I say, I've met some remarkable human beings from around the world. And I don't mean celebrities. Celebrities are great, but meeting real people who are part of a project, that for those people to come forward and be subject of a documentary or be on a show, so brave. So to be part of that is really uplifting. And now this part of my journey from 50 on, helping other people to understand the struggles that I went through and being able to share that story with someone else. Yeah, that 100-year-old lady, she's been truly blessed, truly blessed.
I love that. What a beautiful way to end our interview. Thank you so much for being a part of our tribe. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. I told you we have some fascinating ladies coming forward from all four corners of the globe. And I am so excited to launch the Herstory magazine. Tune in again tomorrow. I will have yet another amazing guest from a different part of the world. This is Gertrude in Wellington, New Zealand. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Bye for now. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.